Okay, so let's get started in child's pose or any shape that you feel comfortable in, just kind of getting started and getting centered. Oh, and I'll mention if you have a strap, you may want it today. You don't need it, but it might be really nice a little later on. So just do have your strap kind of handy if you've got one. And let's find that place. So you can have your toes together, your knees as wide as you like them. And child's pose is a really nice place to start, especially if you are feeling a bit tired, because it's even when you're entering into like a vinyasa flow practice where you know you want to kind of move, sometimes we're still showing up with a bit of that feeling of tiredness, and it's nice to just start where we are, meet ourselves there, and then we'll kind of see what becomes possible as we go. So letting your forehead rest on the ground or your hands or a prop. Your hands could be out in front of you. I often like bending the elbows and having the thumbs close to the back of the neck. You could also have your hands resting beside your body if that feels better for you. And just starting to tap into your breath. Maybe that means taking a few sighs or just noticing what your breath is wanting to do in this particular moment. Allowing yourself to be in contact with the earth. Taking a moment to acknowledge the land. And for me, a part of the energy flow practice is flowing with our energy. So noticing what that feels like today, how you're feeling in alignment with the earth, what's happening in the land, the season, the weather today, what's happening in your internal world and your community, your relationships. Just noticing kind of where you are in that web of everything and how that may be reflected in the energy that you're feeling inside of your body. And if you haven't yet, starting to tap into your ujjayi pranayama, so that little whispering sound at the back of your throat. Drawing the breath up along the midline, allowing your ribs to lift and widen. And as you exhale, feeling the breath drawing back down along the midline, connecting gently to the core and the pelvic floor, which is subtle. You don't need to contract there or anything, just feeling that that's one of the sources of power and movement in the body. And then when you feel it start to call you, we can begin to move. So kind of aiming towards downward dog, but we can start in cat and cow and its variations. Coming up to hands and knees, inhaling into a little back bend, exhaling to curl in. You can have your eyes closed for this. And just move however feels best for you right now. That might be circles, side to side movement. And when you're ready, downward dog, so you can walk your hands a little bit farther forward. Tuck the toes, lift your hips, and press up into your downward dog. You can have your elbows a little bit bent, hugging them towards each other. You can work here in stillness, or you might want to bend one knee at a time. Just staying with that nice, long, connected breath. And then walking your feet up to your hands, coming into a standing forward bend. Hanging down over your legs or resting your elbows on your thighs. You can have your hands on the ground or hold opposite elbows if you want. Maybe you're swaying, maybe you're still. Just staying connected with how your body wants you to move right now. And then we'll slowly roll up to standing. Take your time. And of course, if rolling up doesn't work for you, you can look forward and keep your back nice and neutral as you come up. And as you're rolling, just active feet, core gently engaged. Slowly rising to standing, bringing your shoulders onto your back and taking a moment. Okay, so I did put the playlist in the chat. So if you want to have some music as we start going through our sun salutations, feel free to click on that for Spotify. Okay, and then when you're ready, just returning to the top of your mat, feet parallel, knees soft, chin slightly lifted, returning to Ujjayi. And we'll go through these at our pace. So every day, you know, the pace might be a little slower, a little faster. So just connecting with your breath and making that work for you. Okay, when you're ready, inhale, reaching your arms up to the sky. Exhale, dive over your legs. Halfway lift, draw your heart forward. And then step your right foot back and lower down your knee. You can always keep it lifted if you prefer to. Reach the arms up, coming into your low lunge. And then downward facing dog, connecting your palms, stepping back. Come forward to plank. That could be on your knees or off. You can lower all the way down, or maybe just a small push up there. Point the toes, take cobra. That could always be a cow pose as well, on hands and knees. And then back to downward dog. On your inhale, the right leg is going to rise to the sky as high as you want. And step through. Back knee can come down, heart and hands rise. And then forward bend to the top of your mat. Halfway lift and fold. Bend your knees, rise all the way up. And then dive all the way down. Lengthen, draw the heart forward. Then the left foot will step back, knee can come down. Lunge, inhaling. And then downward facing dog. Through Vinyasa, come forward to plank. Lower all the way down, or you could take a little push up, hugging the elbows in, and then pull through to upward dog, cobra, or at cow pose, shoulders down the back, and then return to downward dog. Left leg will rise on your inhale, take your time, and step it through. It helps me to lean a little to the right to step forward through your low lunge, and then top of your mat. Halfway lift and fold. Then the knees come all the way up, and then hands to heart as you exhale. Inhale again, rising up and dive. Lengthen Right foot back. Through your lunge, nice and long through the sides of your waist. Downward dog. Through Vinyasa, come forward. Little push up. And then through to your back bend, pull those shoulders down. And then downward dog. Right leg to the sky on your inhale. Don't let me rush you. Step through again. You can lean a little to the left to help step forward. Inhaling. And to the top of your mats. Halfway lift. And fold. Rising all the way up. And all the way down. Lengthen. And left foot back. Inhale. Beautiful downward dog. Take your variation of Vinyasa, which could be cat and cow. Strong core and legs wherever you are. Shoulders down the back for your back bend. Left leg to the sky on your inhale. And through. Beautiful, rising up. And forward bend. Lengthen. And melt. Bend the knees, rise all the way up. And then bring the hands together in front of the heart. Take a beat. Good. Okay, let's bend the knees. Reach the arms forward and up and come into a nice high Utkatasana chair pose. So I like to lift my toes up so my work is in my heels. And it's just a neutral spine. It's not a big back bend. We're not tucking the tailbone, just neutral. Core gently engaged. We'll inhale. On your exhale, bring your fists to your hips and you might sit a little lower. Inhale, rise up. You could come up a little bit, press into your heels. Exhale, fist to hips, and you could sink. So just exploring that range of motion for yourself. And really try to use your heels to power the rise. Good. Last two. One more time. To sink. Then hook your thumbs, stand up. You can lean back a little bit. And then keep your thumbs hooked, but just come up to a nice standing position and curve over to the right. Soft knees. Up through center, curve left. Up through center, hands through heart, and then we'll sit down. So the way that you can do this is a few different ways, but try sitting sort of through Utkatasana, keeping your feet here. Your knees might not like this, okay? You might need to widen them, turn them out, or use your hands. But if you can, see if you can just sit right down. Okay, and then we'll lay down on our backs. If you're pregnant, roll to your side first. Okay, otherwise you can draw your belly in and roll just straight down on your spine. Take a moment laying on your back, deep breath. Good, okay. Let's start together. Inhale. Exhale, gather your pelvic floor in and up and your belly button back and towards your spine. So keep your spine nice and neutral. Just engage everything around the belly, especially the low belly. Stay here, interlace your fingers and lift them up off, lift the shoulder blades, up off the mat. So you're just adding your upper abdominals a little bit there. Okay, inhale, you can lift up your right foot. Exhale, lower. Inhale, left foot. Exhale, lower. Okay, and again. Left side. Okay, keep doing this if this is working for you, or we'll go a little bit more. So you can bring in both of your knees, and then on your inhale, you can extend your leg, and as you exhale, bring it in. Inhale, extend your leg, and bring it in. So it's going to be a little bit harder if the leg goes a bit farther down towards the floor. So just be aware of that and kind of measure it for yourself. I don't care really what this looks like or how far down you're going. The thing I want you to concentrate on is keeping your belly button drawing in and up so that the core is really integrated as we go. Try to keep your jaw and your neck relatively relaxed, shoulders down your back. Really good, you guys. So we want to work to a place where we're feeling like we're right at that edge, where there's some work happening. We're not stressed out yet, but you know, there's some tiredness in the muscles. Okay, so if you're already at that place, or I shouldn't say already, if you're at that place, feel free to make sure that you're even on both sides and take a break or a rest. And I'm going to try for a few more myself. Let's do 2 more each side if you can. And last one. Nice work, you guys. And then rest. So you can hug your knees in, or you can take the soles of the feet to the floor and let the knees drop open. And just take a few nice relaxed breaths into your belly, pelvic floor, consciously releasing those muscles. Okay, and then we're gonna journey towards a vinyasa. So if you're not pregnant and you're comfortable with it, you could draw your knees in, rock and roll forward and back, step or even hop back through your vinyasa. Okay, otherwise we'll just go a little bit slower with it. So you can roll to your side, make your way up through your hands and your knees or your downward dog. Remember, cat and cow is a great vinyasa. Okay, coming through, taking your little push up, and then finding that nice long belly, which is really nice after the core. Returning to your downward dog. And then we'll meet in standing at the top of the mat. So you can walk your feet forward. If you want to try a hop, you can bend your knees deeply, look forward and try to hop silently. Then you can roll up or bend the knees, sweep up in one breath. Returning eventually to standing. And just noticing how you feel. So we've done a couple of sun salutations and some core work. So I'm hoping that a little bit of energy is coming through your body. So just noticing what that feels like. Good. Okay, soften your knees just a little bit. Reach your arms up to the sky and then bend your right elbow. Hold on to the elbow with your left hand. Bend your knees a little bit deeper and lean to the left. Draw the front ribs back. And then pour your weight into your left foot. Take your right foot behind you and take the ball of the foot to the floor just outside your mat. Tuck your knee into your knee and then stretch a little bit more to the side. Okay, up through center. Bring your hands to your hips and then land your right foot to the floor. So your legs are crossed and your right leg is behind you. Soften the knees, hug the elbows back, fold down halfway, elbows to thighs, or you can bring your hands down to blocks to the floor and work towards straightening your legs. Okay, if both legs won't straighten, keep the front one bent and work on straightening the back one. Okay, lengthen and melt. So you might be feeling a really juicy stretch here in the outer legs, IT band area. You can also explore walking your hands over to one side or the other, and you'll get some different information there. I've walked my hands over to the right side. And now I'm going to try the left. Just different sensations there. Neck relaxed. Okay, come through center if you're off to one side. Now your left foot, the one in front, that's going to stay just exactly where it is. Your right foot that's behind you, it's going to stay behind you, but you're going to kick it back into a low lunge. Okay, you could do a high lunge here if you need. All right, so the back knee is going to come down. You can pad that knee as needed. Rise on up. And then interlace your fingers around behind your back. You could use a strap for this too, or hook your thumbs. Hug the elbows together, press the fists down, hips forward, but try to keep your tailbone long so you're not sort of collapsing into this. Stay long and let your heart rise to the sky. Keep your back leg strong, pushing the foot into the earth. Inhale, and then gently release your hands. Bring them to either side of your front leg and straighten that leg. You can untuck your back toes. You could also use blocks here if that's helpful to put your hands up on. Sometimes reaching for the floor is just a little bit far. Okay, heart forward, draw your left hip back and either stay or as you exhale, you can melt. Lengthen as you inhale. And as you exhale, just deepen a little bit. Okay, from here, look forward. As you exhale, bend into your front leg, plant your palms, and I'd love for you to come into three-legged downward dog, or you could do this on hands and knees. The left leg is going to go back and up into the sky behind you. Roll your hips open. As you exhale, bring your knee in towards your chest. You can come forward to plank pose, you don't have to. Left knee goes open to the left and then back up to the sky. Knee comes in, maybe you're coming forward, maybe not. Opening the knee, back up to the sky, one more circle. And then let the leg rise, hips open as much as you'd like. Return to downward dog and then choose. You can move through Vinyasa. You can take a rest here. You could do cat and cow, see what your body needs. Okay, find your way back to downward dog if you're not there right now, and walk your hands to your feet. So you're coming to the back of your mat. Take as long as you need to roll up. Bend the knees generously, weight in the heels, gather in the belly. So we're standing at the back of the mat. Take a moment to feel that. Okay, pour your weight into your left leg. Bend your right leg and grab a hold of it behind you. Feel free to use a wall if you're working on your balance today and need a little extra support. Okay, so you're just holding your foot with your right hand or both hands. Left knee is a little bit bent. Draw the tailbone down. Hug the inner thighs slightly and point the knee down towards the earth so you get that nice quadricep stretch. You can stay here or we'll take this into dancer's pose. So your right hand, you can trace the palm across the toes until the palm is facing out on the inner arch of your foot. Left hand can come to your heart, bend your knee even a little bit deeper, that standing leg, tip forward and start to extend the right leg back as the left arm comes forward. It's almost like the quality of stringing an arrow onto a bow. Try to keep your hips relatively square to the front, heart to the front. Allow your right shoulder to open. Breathe your ujjayi. It really helps with balance. Okay, come back up through center. If you can, draw your right knee into your chest. Hands can come together at your heart. Keep your gaze steady. If you can, straighten your leg. I know this is really fun. Try to keep your back neutral. Whoop. Okay, inhale, and then you're just gonna step down. So it's just a nice short little stepping stance. And then look at your feet and just make sure their hips distance or so apart. I'm just needing to widen mine a little bit to the side. It's also okay to angle your left toes out a bit. Hands onto hips, lift the heart, and it's just a nice little short pyramid. You can put your hands on blocks here as well if you need to. Okay, lengthen your heart, and then just gently melt over the leg, pressing into the big toe, drawing that right outer hip back and up. And just imagine your spine kind of flowing down your leg, relaxing your head if possible and your neck. Nice deep breaths. Okay, so we're gonna gather that strength and energy up again. And we're just gonna go slow here. So lift about halfway, bend both of your knees and gather in your belly, hug your inner thighs. You're gonna lean into your right leg and pick up your left. So we're coming into a little standing L. And you can stay here, this is plenty. Okay, some of you might bring your hands to your heart and lift your chest up a little bit higher. Just be careful that you're not rounding your spine here. Really lift up almost like a back bend so you get that nice neutral lower back and square hips. If you really want to make this challenging, the arms can come forward. That's going to be harder. Gather that belly in. It's okay to fall down. We don't have too far to go. Okay, inhale. And as you exhale, bring your hands to your heart, stand up with your left knee into your chest. How are we doing? Extend the left leg. You don't have to hold it too long, just step it down. So we're in that same short little pyramid pose kind of situation, but with the left leg in front. Hands to hips, draw your heart back and fold. Lengthen and then melt your spine over your leg. Relaxing the neck if you can, breathe. Think of drawing the left hip back and up. And then step both of your feet together so that you're back at the top of your mat. Take a halfway lift and fold, and then rise in your favorite way so you can roll up or sweep up. One breath as you like. Hands to heart. And take a moment just to feel and receive. Soften your knees, reach your arms up, bend your left elbow. Hold the elbow with your right hand. Curve to the right, bending your knees a little bit more. Draw the ribs in. And then pour your weight into your right leg, de-weight your left, and take the ball of your left foot behind you so that it lands on the floor just outside of your mat. And then tuck your knee into your knee and curve a little bit more. Okay, up through center. Keep the legs crossed, release the hands and step that left foot to the floor. So your legs are crossed. And my left foot is still just to the outside of my mat. So that's kind of how wide I am. They could be narrower or wider. Hands to hips and then fold down, maybe elbows to thigh or hands to the floor or blocks. Coming into this nice twisted forward bend. And again, you can explore walking your hands over to one side or the other, just kind of see what happens when you do that. You get that nice juicy stretch to the outer leg. When I go to the left, I'm feeling my right outer leg a little bit more. So ideally, you know, if both legs can be straight, that's great. If not, keep the front one bent and work the back leg towards straight. Sometimes that works. You can walk your hands over to the other side if you haven't yet. I love a side bend, I do. Awesome. Okay, we're gonna come back through center with the hands. And then the leg that's already behind you, that's your left leg, you're gonna step it farther back so you can come into a low lunge. Yeah, so right leg is in front, left leg is back. Okay, low lunge. Reach your arms up. Interlace your fingers around behind your back. You might take your other thumb on top so it feels a little bit unfamiliar. Hug your elbows. So yes, press your hips forward, but also lengthen your tailbone down. Okay, your left glute should be working. And one of the ways we can help the left glute to work is by pushing into the floor with the left foot. Lift your heart. One more deep breath. And then release the hands, bring them to either side of your front foot, straighten that leg. You can absolutely have a bend in the knee, that's fine. Untuck your back toes, lengthen your heart, and melt. Totally fine to be still or flow with your breath, a little rise and fall. Coming back to Ujjayi if you've lost it. Awesome, and then we'll walk the hands forward, bend into the front leg, and we're coming into three-legged downward dog, where you could absolutely do this with your left knee down. So the right leg is going back and up into the sky. Open the hips, bring the knee in. Optionally, shoulders come over the wrist. You're gonna get a little bit more core that way. Knee opens to the side, and then return it to the sky. Two more, exhale. And one more. And then downward dog. Bring your knees down. Bring your elbows down. You can keep your forearms parallel just like this, or palms together might be a little more forgiving for your shoulders depending on what's going on. Okay, and then you can come back up into that downward dog shape. So just exploring a little bit of opening through the chest. You can play with walking your feet a little bit closer to your elbows. And you can also play with pushing into the forearms to bring your heart more towards your legs, or bringing the shoulders a little bit more right over top of the elbows. There's going to be different sensations there. The head is floating. You could be looking at the ground or just head relaxed. Okay. And then from here, let's walk the feet back and come into a dolphin plank. Shoulders right over the elbows. You could absolutely do this on your knees. Long lower back, draw that belly in. Okay, child's pose, bring your knees down. Sink your hips back, and then I would recommend you try that elbows bent variation here. So the thumbs come to the upper back or the back of the neck. You can stay right here for a few more breaths. If you do have a little bit more energy today and you'd like to add a vinyasa at this point, you're welcome to. Wherever you are, just staying with your breath. Let's meet in our downward dog and walk the hands to the feet. So we're at the back of the mat. And then let's roll up. So pour your weight into your legs, draw your belly in, slowly curl. And I like to roll up when I'm about to balance because I find it just helps me to sort of find my core, find my balance. Okay. Once you feel like you've found it and you're there, pour your weight into your right leg and hold on to your left around behind you with one or maybe even both hands if you'd like to try that. Hug the inner thighs a bit. Right knee is slightly bent. Point the knee down and push the foot into the hand, hand into the foot. Just getting that nice quadricep action to start. Okay, you can stay here or take your right hand to your heart and then take the left palm across the toes to hold the inner arch of the foot. So the palm faces out. Begin to kick the foot into the hand. Reach the right arm forward. Coming into dancer's pose. Hips are still aiming forward, heart is aiming forward. Allowing the left shoulder to roll back. Okay, inhale, and then bring your right hand to your heart, come through center, pick up your left knee if you can. Optionally straighten the leg, that's gonna be a little bit harder. Try to keep your back neutral so you're not rounding here. It doesn't matter how high the leg is. Oh, so as. And then step that foot down. So we're in this little short walking stance. It's okay to turn your right toes out a little bit as you need to. Hands to hips, lift the heart, fold over your leg. Okay, bend your left leg a little bit. Walk your hands a bit forward. You can absolutely use blocks here. Hug those inner thighs and lift your right leg up. Okay, and then draw your belly in. Some of you might bring your hands to your heart and you'll need to lift your heart up quite high to do that, almost like you're trying to do a bow pose in the air, like a little back bend. So there's a bit of a lift of faith that you have to do if you're gonna bring your hands up, which you don't have to, for sure. Arms might come forward, that's gonna be more challenging. Make sure you've got your core engaged, hips squared to the earth. And middle places arms out. That's a bit harder, but not quite as hard as arms forward. Good. Okay, so if your hands are still on the ground, you can just stand right up. And then we'll all bring the right knee into the chest. Just briefly straighten the leg. You don't have to hold it. Step it forward. Yeah, hands on hips, lift the heart, and fold down. Last time in this funny little mini pyramid. Melting the heart to the earth. So nice, and then gently step forward so both of your feet are together at the top of the mat. And again, we're gonna roll up. If you have your strap handy, you can roll up with it in one hand. If not, don't worry about it. You can roll up and grab it after if you have one. If you don't have one, no worries. Do without. Good, okay. So to play with a little variation of dancer's pose that it's not that it's necessarily a deeper dancer's pose, but there's a shoulder opening that can feel really nice that we can just add to it. So if you don't have a strap, I'll give you a couple of options. Actually, I'll just give you one option, which is to just do dancer's pose the way that we've been doing it, holding the foot with your hand, okay? If you have the strap, just take it nice and long and then step on it. So I'll mirror you. So step on it with your right foot, cross the handles, and then step over it with your left foot. So it's behind you. Okay, and then pour your weight into your left foot. The palms kind of go open to the sides. And then you're gonna turn so that the elbows come up. Yeah, so it kind of looks like this. So I can keep my balance there. Okay, and then from here, we'll engage the core and we're working through dancer's pose, but you can kind of walk your hands up the strap a little bit maybe. And then elbows up to the sky as you kick the foot into the hand. There's this lovely shoulder opening that you can work with, just adding into your dancer's pose and see what that feels like for you. Hug those inner thighs, use your pelvic floor and your core, and your gaze really steady on the earth so that you can balance. Ooh, come out with control if you can. If you can't, you're not alone. And then just take a moment. You can rest your hands by your sides. How did that go? Any questions about that? That makes sense, how to get your arms there? Cool. Okay, so let's try it on the other side. Whew. Okay, so step on the strap with your left foot. Cross the handles. And then step over with your right foot. Okay, and then you're holding onto the edges of the strap, the palms turn open. Allow the leg to come behind you. Then the elbows turn forward and up. Okay, and then you can walk the hands down the strap, maybe, maybe not, depending on how you're feeling today. Little bend in the right leg, sorry, extending the leg back, hugging the elbows together. Gaze steady. Use your core, your gaze, your pelvic floor. And gently come out if you can. If you fall, that's all good. Release the strap. And take a moment just to feel all of that work that we've been doing in our bodies. Beautiful work, you guys. Okay, so we're quite prepped for forearm stand. So I'm going to offer that, but I know that not everyone wants to take forearm stand every day. Okay, it's a pretty intense pose. And if you want to try it and you have a wall, you can bring your mat up to a wall. I'm just going to see if I can angle, get my light in there, move it back a bit. Okay, you don't need a wall to do the prep for this. And I'll also invite you to take any inversion that does work for you. If you're not wanting to take any of these more active versions, you could do a child's pose or legs up the wall, for example, and just take a little rest. Okay, otherwise we'll try some forearm stand variations. Okay, so the first place to be is dolphin downward dog, which we've done already in this practice. Just working with that shape with the arms. And I do quite like having a block in between the hands for forearm stand. So you would take it just in between your the L's of your hands like this. It gives you something to press into and it helps you to keep the alignment between your elbows. Okay, so I recommend that. You don't have to, of course, but it can be quite helpful. And you can be pretty close to the wall for forearm stand, you know, as you like. So I like to roll my elbows in a little closer because I know they're going to roll out a little bit as I go. So just on elbows and knees, you can play here. And if you wanted to even do something like cat and cow here, that's really good conditioning for the shoulders. If you don't want to go all the way up, you can tuck your toes, lift your bum. See how that feels. Walk your feet in a little. Try to get your shoulders right over your elbows, but not forward. That's going to make it harder. Okay. And that's why we've been doing all that shoulder opening to make that space in that particular area today. You might lift a leg. This is plenty. Feel free to stay here. Or hug those inner thighs. And then maybe a little hop. See what happens. Try to keep your gaze down. Don't crank your neck. But keep looking at the floor. It might be between your elbows, working your legs up. You can try a couple times with one leg and then maybe switch. And as a rest or a counter pose, I like child's pose with the hands by my hips and just letting the shoulders kind of drop. I find that can feel really nice. Yeah. So we'll take a couple more breaths here. And then we'll meet eventually laying on our back. So some of you are already there doing kind of a legs up the wall or elevated legs variation, which is great. If you're in child's pose or some other shape, just take your time to gently come out of it and lay on your back. If you're not laying on your back today, we're going to do a little back bend. You could do a camel, for example, or a cobra. But we are quite prepped for bridge and wheel. So again, I know your energy might be flagging at this point in the class. So feel free to just kind of take whatever variation works for you energy-wise right now. I'm just going to do one variation of a back bend and then we're going to cool down. So we'll talk about bridge and you can take it into wheel if you want to today. But we're just going to do the one. Sometimes it's nice to know the plan, right? So you know where to put your energy. So to prep for bridge and wheel, we've got the heels pretty close to the bum. So the fingers can touch, but not the bum. I personally like my feet actually pretty wide. Some people like the heels a bit closer, so you can kind of see what works for you in your knees. Elbows by the ribs. Press the elbows down and apart to hug the elbows together. Engage the core, but you don't need to tuck your tailbone. Just push into the heels and lift up your bum. You can stay here, maybe interlace your fingers under you, which we've been doing a fair amount of that today, so see how it feels. Hug the inner thighs together. Think knees and chest away from each other. Give your nice juicy bridge. Those of you that want to take this into wheel, come out a little bit. Bring your hands beside your ears, fingers point in. Hug the elbows together, and then push into the floor to lift to the crown of your head. Widen your hands a little bit and see if you can straighten your arms. Same alignment as bridge, hugging the inner thighs, nice and long through the spine, head is relaxed. Try to stay for 5 breaths if you can. But if your body's saying, time to come out, listen to that. And then after your 5 breaths, I know some of you have been in bridge for a while, just gently releasing down, chin into chest if you're coming out of wheel. And then you can take soles of the feet together, knees open wide or knees together, feet wide. Relax your arms. Let's actually take them up over the head. Hold one wrist with the other hand and just give it a few nice little squeezes. Nice wrist release there. And then switch wrists. And then relax. Just kind of let your energy sink into the earth. Lots of work in the shoulders and the hamstrings today. Just kind of letting whatever you've been holding in those areas kind of drip into the earth now. Okay, and then draw your knees into your chest. You can give yourself a little hug, a little rock from side to side. And let's take a simple supine twist. If you have a favorite one, feel free to take that one. Okay, otherwise, shift your hips a little to the left, pick up your knees, drop them to the right. I like to roll a little bit to the right so I can kind of reset my shoulders, because I like to have quite an opening in the chest here. You could put a prop between your knees if you like, or angle the knees down a bit if this feels a bit too compressive for you. Okay, and just think a nice, heavy, relaxed left shoulder. You could gaze over the left shoulder as well. Twists are great for a lot of things. Calming the nervous system, resetting the spine, releasing the lower back. And then when you're ready, gently come out of it. So I'm rolling to my right first. That's how I like to come out. Back through center, laying on the back, shift the hips to the right, pick up the knees, drop them left. And again, if you want to, you can roll a little to the left just to get that nice opening into your chest. Adjusting your knees as needed. This shouldn't hurt at all. The supine twists should feel quite comfortable, quite easeful. You can breathe into your belly here as well, as long as your lower back feels safe. And then when you're ready, we'll come out. So again, I like to roll back to my side, but you could engage the core and bring your knees up through center. That would work too. And let's take a hip opener. I'm gonna start and thread the needle. So taking my right ankle to my left thigh, right hand between the legs, holding onto the back of the left leg, gently drawing that in, both feet flexed, optionally with a little rock from side to side. For some people, it's really helpful to have a little prop underneath the bum or to keep the left foot on the ground. Okay, you can stay here for sure, or release your hands and cross your legs. And then hug that in. So supine gomukhasana, or you can hold your feet or your knees. Just a little bit of a different angle for the hips. If that's not feeling right, just come back to thread the needle. And then gently let that go. You might want to slide the knees apart and take a happy baby, or just rock the knees wide. And then let's come to thread the needle on the other side. So feet to the floor, left ankle to right thigh. Hold on to the back of the right thigh. If appropriate, for some people, it's better to have the foot on the floor. Or you could even prop your foot up on a block. Maybe there's a little sway from side to side there. Maybe it's stillness. Nice deep breaths here. The feet could be soft. You could breathe a little more into your belly here. And you're welcome to stay with your thread the needle, or try gomukhasana, crossing the thighs so that they close, and then hugging that in or holding the feet. Getting that slightly different hip opener, see if it works for you. Keeping your breath nice and long and soft. Just try to stay here in your body. And gently release as you're ready. Again, you can take the knees wide. Maybe take that happy baby, so soles of the feet go up to the sky. You can hold the ankles or the feet, whatever is accessible. Maybe wrapping the peace fingers around the big toe. And some people really like to rock from side to side in happy baby. And then let's let that go. You can give the legs a little shake. And then we'll make our way into Shavasana. So if there's something left that you need in your practice before you can rest, please feel free to take that. If there's a way that you want to set up your Shavasana, like with a bolster under the thighs or putting on some layers, for example, feel free to do that. I don't really need anything for Shavasana. It just means, well, Shavasana means corpse pose. So it's the death of the practice, the end, where we really take this moment to let go of any effort. But the intention of it is that you're as comfortable as you can be. So you're doing as little effort as possible so that we can really absorb the energies of the work that we've done today. So that could be laying on the side or propped up on a bolster or even seated if that's your most comfortable place. And when you get there, you can take a deep breath just to kind of settle in, but then we let go of any conscious breath. And we try our best to just be in a place that's purely receiving, totally passive. Take a moment to notice how you're feeling right now. And if you want to stay and you have the time, please feel free to just remain in your Shavasana as long as you want. Otherwise, you can start to deepen your breath and bring some gentle movements into your body. You can stretch. Gather in your knees and roll over to one side. And then press up to a seat and bring your hands together in front of your heart or over top, wherever feels right for you today. And then gently bow your mind to your hands, just honoring and acknowledging yourself, whatever it took for you to get to your practice today. Honoring and acknowledging the long and complex lineage of teachers that is with us in our practice. Honoring and acknowledging the sacredness of the land. Thank you for sharing that practice with me.